Hi guys, welcome back to my art studio. It's good to see you this week. It is a drippy day out, and I hope you guys can see me because the light is not very good in here this week. Do you remember what our theme is? All right, so we're gonna do markers and aliens. Aliens and markers. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm gonna show you what I drew with markers. And an alien planet. Does that look familiar to you guys at all? Do you know what this is? Do you know which alien planet this is? This is actually the planet Jupiter in our solar system. Do you see the big red spot? And Jupiter has 4 moons. I guess I only drew 3 of them. Pretend one of them is behind the planet. But those are the Galilean moons, and they were discovered by an astronomer named Galileo Galilei. He was one of the inventors of the telescope. Let us look out into the skies and see the amazing things that are near us in space in our solar system. All right, so true fact, when I went to college, I did not study art. You know what I studied? I studied astronomy. So I love space. I love just all the vastness and the curiosity and the openness of what's going on out there. We don't know so much about space and our world and whether there are real aliens out there and what they look like if they're out there. Who knows? So, you know, I love books. So the first book I wanted to show you really quick was Constellations. All right. Do you know what a constellation is? This is when we see patterns in the stars in the night sky. And this is something that humans have studied and been interested in for like thousands and thousands of years. Okay. So maybe you know some constellations like the Big Dipper is a constellation. There's Orion the Hunter. There's actually Orion's hunting dog. That's Canis Major. So many different things. There's so many animals up in the night sky traced out in star patterns. So let me see if I can find a couple pictures in here. They want to show you all right, so the first one I wanted to show you really quick, if I can hold this up. All right, can you see that? It's hard because the book is glossy. But look right here. This is a drawing of the moon that Galileo made through his telescope. So here's a little alien planet that's really close to us, our own moon. This is what he saw through his telescope. Do you know what this planet is? That's Saturn. It's a picture of Saturn. Did you see it doesn't have its rings? What it has is a band of the shadow of the rings across it because the rings are tilted right towards us. All right, the other thing I wanted to show you really quick. Can you see that? All right, it's like a unicorn, right? These are some of the animal patterns that they saw in the stars. And I love that they have these old star maps that show some of these things that people saw in the night sky. I guess they're not exactly aliens, but it's so cool that people had this imagination about space and about what they were seeing. Really quick too, another thing I want to show you. Check this out. So space is full of gas and dust, and we call them nebula, which means clouds. So these clouds of gas and dust, and a lot of times they're glowing, they're reflecting starlight, and they're these beautiful, amazing colors. And the structures are just so interesting to look at. So that's another inspiration idea for you as you're thinking about your aliens and the alien worlds and where they might be living. There's close-ups of some galaxies. There's another picture of Saturn. I don't know, neat stuff. So if you're curious, go to the library, check out a book about space. You'll be inspired for sure. Yeah, so this book, is available at Carnegie Stout at the library if you want to check it out, Constellations. So another thing I was thinking about when I was thinking about aliens, I was thinking about alien planets, right? So this is another book that I found at the library. Oh, my screen is glaring off it. This book is full of satellite photos of our planet. So these are pictures of Earth, but they're really unique because we don't usually have that perspective, right? Of looking down on our planet from way high up in the sky, right? Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple of these because I think the coolest thing about these is the colors and the textures that you can find in these sorts of things. I think they're really inspirational. Can you tell what these guys are? All these interesting swirls and patterns. I don't know, can you see this? These are actually river deltas, and these are false color. This one's like purple and green. And the different colors, scientists use those to like give them different information. So that's why they're like cool, nifty colors. But I love those shapes. I love those squiggles. I love those ideas. So as you start thinking about developing maybe some alien planets for your aliens to live on, you could check something like this out. Here's another river delta with more, oh, geez, hard to see, isn't it? With more Earth-like colors. This is probably a natural color photograph. But look at those different patterns. All right, and the last one I wanted to show you really quick was this one. This one was my favorite. I just thought this was so cool. This is actually like the northern coast of Alaska, way north up next to the Bering Sea. And you see all those lakes? This is like a tundra marshland that's like frozen for most of the year. And it's a huge migratory bird habitat. But I thought those patterns are really cool. So for my first piece of artwork, I decided to make an alien planet that was inspired by those ponds and those shapes. I thought this pond right here looked like, I don't know, like a bunny rabbit or something. And then this one looked kind of like a carrot. But I just thought the shapes were really neat, and the colors aren't coming out very well. But there were a lot of really interesting colors in there as well, like greens and blues. And I made this with watercolor, but also with some markers and some colored pencils. So this was kind of a mixed media piece. But there's an alien planet for our aliens to live on. All right, so when we think about aliens, right, we're thinking about like alien life, like other creatures that live on different worlds that are not necessarily like our own. So another book I want to show you from the library is this book. And this is a series of botanical drawings by a German biologist named Ernest Hegel. I might not be pronouncing that right, Hegel. And he studied stuff with a microscope. So these are really tiny, tiny, tiny little creatures, right? And this was before photography. So he had to draw everything out by hand, kind of like that little picture of the moon that I showed you that Galileo drew when he was looking through his telescope. So this guy was looking through a microscope, but he was discovering all these really funky creatures that were living here on planet Earth that we didn't even know about. So as you're thinking of ideas for making your alien life, I think you should check out some stuff like this. Pretty crazy what you can find. Let me see if I can find another one. Look at these. Look at all those different shapes. And there's some plants that he was studying. Oh, here's mushrooms. Mushrooms. And then he studied a lot of like really tiny sea creatures. And he was studying like microscopic sea creatures and the shapes that they had. And I think that's just really cool. So there you go. There's some ideas for some life that's crazy unusual here on Earth. All right. So let me see. What did I have? Let me show you. So when we were thinking about aliens and markers, I wanted to consult my resident expert on aliens made with markers, which is my son, he used to spend hours when he was a little bit littler drawing these incredible like alien planet worlds, and they were always doing battle with each other, and he would usually have a different color for each of the planets so you could see like the different alien colonizations, and it was a little bit bloody, but you know, that was what he was enjoying. So here's a big piece of paper that he had. Let me see if I can show you this. Can you see that? Can you see his different alien colonies? And they're going after each other pretty well with their spaceships. But he had so much fun. So if you have big paper lying around, you could definitely do something like that. This is like old recycled paper. This was like a calendar on one side. But he enjoyed doing that. The other thing that he loved doing, so he had like alien houses for his different alien species. You can do things like that, alien houses. And he even just had a couple little sketches of some different aliens. This alien is being attacked by like a snake planet thing. That's pretty crazy. I don't even know. There's this little astronaut here tethered to her spaceship. So much creativity there. He even showed me one page of his sketchbook that he was doing another alien invasion. And he said that one of these planets could like move around, like the Death Star. Have you guys seen Star Wars? So this whole entire alien civilization planet came and attacked the Blues. And there's a big battle going on. And the Blues are attacking the Reds, and apparently they're splitting their planet in half. And then the Greens are over here. I don't know, just here on the fringes. I don't know if they're getting involved or not. But there you go. That's my resident alien expert. So I thought a little bit more about that. So I had my Jupiter, right? But I also just took some thin markers and I was like, what little alien planets could I do? So I've got a squiggly colony with little three-legged aliens, and they live in little round houses, and they have squiggly trees on their planet. And then I had the cactus eaters, and they're little round guys. I don't know if those are legs or what, but they definitely have mouths, and they eat these cacti, and they live in these little tube-shaped houses. There's the cactus eaters. And then these guys here, this is Noodle World. And these guys are really, really, really long, tall, skinny guys. And they have long, tall, skinny houses, and they eat noodles. So there's the piles of noodles around their houses. And their world is even kind of like floppy and squishy because their planet is a noodle as well. And the last one that I saw in my mind was the alphabet planet. I thought these guys looked kind of like A's when I was first drawing them. So I was like, oh, they're alphabet guys. And you know what they eat? Their diet is alphabet soup. So they get bowls of soup. And they keep little bees as pets. And the bees have fangs. So there's my collection of alien planets that are not battling each other, but they're pretty silly. And I like the idea of doing each one in a different color. So I did that. All right. One other book I wanted to tell you about. This is a book we found at the library. And these are not exactly aliens, but I love how creative this is. And I love these, like, I don't know if they're spaceships necessarily, but these cool contraptions that this author has thought up as ways to navigate in his imaginary world. So this one came from the library as well. And I just think some of these illustrations are fantastic. Here's like a little crab machine going on an adventure. Here's an octopus riding a bicycle. Here's like a windmill world. And here's a fun take on a hot air balloon. Instead of a hot air balloon, it's like an ocean world balloon. So I don't know how those guys float up in the sky, filled with their ocean water. But I love that he's got these sharks and these whales and these squids with these funny little baskets underneath with so many different ideas. The whale with the watermelon house underneath. And here's the big one from the cover. Again, just really a lot of fun imagination. So that's the fun thing about aliens, right? Is they can be whatever you want them to be, right? All right, so the last game that I had to show you guys really quick, I took a piece of paper, like thick paper, and I just cut it into 3 pieces, and I stuck it into my sketchbook, my big sketchbook. Now this is something you guys should do as a family or with your siblings or something. Okay, so I stuck it into my sketchbook, right? And then I had one person draw the top panel while the other 2 were covered up, okay? And I made a little mark so they would know where to line up the middle parts of their drawing, okay? So my son drew this head, this alien head, okay? And then he closed this, all right? And then he gave it to me, and he didn't tell me anything about it. We just knew we were drawing aliens. So then I drew a middle panel. All right, so here's my alien body. And I put in all these special little things that I was thinking about. And then we closed this. And then I was going to have my daughter play, but she was not available. So my son did the bottom as well. So then he opened the last one, and he did like the legs and feet of his little alien. All right. So each of us did this without knowing what the other one was doing. So then when you take out the panel, you get to see your funny alien creation that you've all collaborated on. Collaboration is a fantastic thing for artists to do because sometimes we run out of ideas, right? And sometimes we are inspired by other people's ideas. So this is a fun way to all work together and get something very creative and unique. So here's this guy. Here's his head. He's got eyes. He's got a nose. He's wearing an orange scarf. Micah said that these are that's his hair up there. So that was Micah's head. Micah's my son, sorry. And then here's the body that I drew. And these are, oh my gosh, I just forgot the word of it. These are its lungs, its gills. There we go. There's the gills. And then, they're here on the end of the gills. Those are its ears so that it can hear. So there's its ears. And then do you know what these are? It doesn't have any arms. It's just got little suction cups, like on octopus tentacles. So then it just like gives you a hug by like, bleh, just squishing you. But it's got a nice scaly patch on its belly so that you don't stick to its belly, just around it. And then my son did the bottom as well. And he said that because it's kind of a sluggy thing, it doesn't have its own legs. So he gave it this like mechanized like foot thing that it straps onto itself. And it's got scales and a tool belt, and then it's got little mechanized feet that allow it to move around. So here was his and my alien that we composed together, made out of markers. So again, I made some marks so that each of us knew where to line up the center parts of our pieces so that we could all line them up. And again, I just took a piece of paper, cut it into panes, and stuck it into my sketchbook. So you can do that if you want to hand your sketchbook around and do some alien art that way with it. Okay, so let's wrap up really quick. Let's do the theme and the art material for next week. So let me pull up this guy. We're going to use pens. And let me look in here. portraits. We're going to do portraits with pens. And this is going to be cool, actually. Just thinking about this. The Art Museum has a call out to artists to do portraits of the COVID-19, social distancing that we've all been doing. The portraits of staying home and staying safe. So we will talk about that next week. We'll do our pen portraits. All right, guys, stay well. Have fun. I will see you next week.